The Secret Saturdays was originally created by Canadian comic artist Jay Stevens. He's known for his previous work Teutonstein, which was a comic book that was later turned into a cartoon, and he's also known for his short Jet Cat on the show Kablam. The original concept of the show was a group of cryptids with a human mascot traveling around hiding the mysteries of the world, while their enemy is trying to destroy them and other cryptids. The show was eventually picked up by Cartoon Network, which wanted more action shows due to the success of Ben 10 and Ben 10 Alien Force. The show was changed to follow a family of cryptozoologists, and their main goal is to hide and protect cryptids from the world, and in doing so also protect the world. So what exactly is cryptozoology? Well, from the little I know, cryptozoology is the study of and search of creatures that are questioned to exist. This includes things like the Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti, the Chupacabra, things like that. And all of these creatures are collectively known as cryptids. Jay Stevens says that since he was a child, he was very fascinated by cryptozoology, and it fuels a lot of his work. And in this instance, he's just making a show about his interest, which I think is pretty cool. In an interview on Bureau of Beasties, Jay states that he was the creator, director, and executive producer of The Secret Saturdays. This made him involved in almost every level of production of the show, from writing the script, to voice casting and recording, to character designs and layouts, among other things. In another interview on Comic Book Bin, he says that it took a year of him developing the story with Cartoon Network and his producer friend, Fred Schaefer. After that, they got the writer Brandon Sawyer to create the series Bible and the pilot, while the director Scott Gerald stayed close to Stevens' vision. There were also 9 comics, with 2 of them being prequels to the show. They were part of the Cartoon Network Action Pack comics. You can read more about that on the interview on Comic Book Bin. Now, the show itself first aired on October 8th, 2008 and finished January 10th, 2010. It had 36 episodes, each running for 22 minutes, while the first and second episode were played back to back as a sort of movie or premiere, something like that. And like I said before, it's about a family of cryptozoologists trying to hide and protect cryptids in order to protect the world. And of course, it follows the Saturday family, composed of Doc, Drew, Zach, Fiskerton, Komodo, and Zahn. Doc is the patriarch and is the scientific one. He doesn't really believe in magic despite everything he sees.
Terms I'm more comfortable with. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Your mother and I brought the potential for great evil to the world 11 years ago. But that was also the year you were born.
He has a power gauntlet that has crystals that give him the powers of freezing, heating, shocking, and sonic vibrations. Drew is the more mystic person, and she was raised by Tibetan monks who gave her a fire sword, which uses light to create fire blasts.
Boom.
It also has this other attack I don't know how to explain that is available when she's not in light, and she can apparently speak 37 languages. Zach is the main character we follow. He can form a psychic connection with cryptids. This lets him calm them down and control them a little, but he can't do anything that they were already inclined to do. He has a staff that helps him focus his abilities, and he's also really strong, as noted in this episode where he carries a man on his back while he's climbing a tower. Now, Fiskerton, Komodo, and Zahn are cryptids, but despite that, they're treated like Zach's brothers and sister. Komodo is said to be the one that's been the longest around, and he's a genetically altered Komodo dragon capable of turning invisible. The next one that joined is Fiskerton, who they call a gorilla cat. He's named after the Fiskerton Phantom Cryptid. There was also a viral campaign ad thing they did, and there's a 3D render they made that wound up on the actual cryptids wiki page, which I think is kind of funny and cool. And finally, we have Zahn, the newest member, who joined in the second episode after they accidentally destroyed her nest in the Amazon. She's a pterosaur and she can fly, and Zach named her after the Amazon. She mostly lives outside and doesn't really want to be domesticated. And the Saturdays are part of a larger group known as the Secret Scientists. This group investigates things that go beyond what is considered normal, and they try to protect humanity. For example, one scientist we were introduced to investigates UFOs and is said to have prevented an alien invasion once.
I don't have the equipment here to document a sighting of this magnitude.
Sighting? Like a UFO? Did we miss something?
Yeah, you missed your last don't ask stupid questions lesson.
The show starts with the Saturdays out in the field documenting a frog cryptid, and with Zach getting some practice in with his powers. And as he's talking, we see 3 different locations relating to different secret scientist groups, and all 3 of them get bombed. And we cut to the intro, and I think that's a pretty strong way to start off a show. Once we're done with the intro, we're shown 2 guys going through a location, and this location is the home of the Saturdays, and Doc and Drew fight them off. One of them is called Van Rook, and he's apparently an old nemesis of Doc, while the other guy is his new apprentice. They contact one of the other scientists, who's in Antarctica, and she says that the 3rd scientist, Henry Chaveo, can't be reached. And we're shown that he was approached by the series antagonist Vivi Argost. He wants his stone back, and it's revealed that it's called the Curse Stone, which can lead whoever has it to Cur, which will grant the person that finds it the power over all cryptids. When the Saturdays meet Chaveo, they reveal they hid their piece of the stone in the Amazon River basin, and they also find out that Argos was still there because Henry has a parasite attached to his nervous system, which is really horrifying when you think about it.
No! You have to stop Argos!
So in order to beat Argos to their piece of the stone, the Saturdays go to the Amazon, where they get shot out of the sky and meet Zahn. Naturally, they get their piece of the stone, and it was revealed that it was all a ploy by Argos to have them lead him to the stone, which is pretty obvious, I think, because they just said it was in the Amazon River basin. They didn't give an exact location for where it was. I just did a simple search, and right here in Wikipedia it says that the river basin is about 2.4 million square miles, so that's insanely huge. It would take forever to find anything in there, unless you knew exactly where to look. But that's about the drainage basin or the river or something. The sedimentary basin is 240,000 square miles, which is still huge. So yeah, they really could have done nothing, and Argos probably would have never found it. Anyway, Argos manages to steal their stone and get away, so now he has the full map of reaching Cur. But luckily, the Saturdays found an imprint of their piece in the mud, which was rather high quality. So high quality, in fact, that they managed to get a full 3D scan of the entire thing, and not just of the half we saw in the mud. And Doc doesn't believe in magic. How does he explain this? That maniac.
Okay, a good scientist stays focused on all his surroundings, not just one piece of evidence, something your father seems to have forgotten. So, this should wake him up.
Thanks.
So the whole series is a race to beat Argos to Cur, and they're off to a rough start since they only have like a third of the map to work with. Now, while there is some continuity to the show, Jay said that he was mostly inspired by old Hanna-Barbera cartoons like Johnny Quest. So the Secret Saturdays is more of a Monster of the Week show that gradually progresses the story. Honestly, it's very much like Ben 10 Alien Force. And what's really fun about the show is that it's a mix of real-world cryptids and made-up cryptids, which can introduce viewers to cryptids from different parts of the world. In the 3rd episode, we're introduced to the Hibakon, which is the Japanese Yeti, and it is massive. And it's also something that already existed in our world, or is believed to exist in our world. I'm going to be spoiling things for a little, so go to here if you want to avoid them. If not, here we go. Here's the spoilers. So, not far into the show, we learn that Van Rook's apprentice is Drew's long-lost brother. Their parents were adventurers, and they took both of them along. And one day they were caught up in a blizzard while in the Himalayas, and it killed their parents. And Drew got wrapped up in a tent and carried off to the Tibetan monks that raised her. And we don't really know what happened with Doyle at the start of the show, but it turns out he was raised in an orphanage that was pretty rough, and he was basically conditioned to be a mercenary. And we also find out that it was a Yeti that attacked them at night during the blizzard and killed their parents. And surprise, surprise, it turns out Argost is the Yeti, which is an interesting twist. I don't know how to feel about that, but moving on. He joins the family after revealing he stole a piece of the curse stone, but he later moves out because Dog doesn't like how he conducts himself and also lets Zack put himself in danger. During their adventures, they come across this mirror that summons evil counterparts from another dimension. Zack calls them the Mondays, and they come from a world made of antimatter, and that causes reality to warp when they get too close to each other, which becomes important later as Zack Monday and Komodo, who can speak English, manage to stay in the Saturday reality while the others are banished. We also learned that Fiskerton is part of a race called Numerians who are meant to guard against Kerr, which is awkward since it's revealed that Zack is Kerr, but Fiskerton decides to protect Zack. This is because he loves his brother and doesn't believe he would do anything to destroy the world. The second season is the Saturdays being in hiding and getting chased around by the secret scientists and Argost. The scientists want to keep Zack safe and secure while they figure out what to do, and the more zealous ones want to cryogenically freeze him to be really safe. The scientists eventually meet up with this one mystic who has a flute called the Flute of Gilgamesh, which can remove Kerr, and they tell the Saturdays about it, so they convince them to go to the flute guy and get it removed. But the guy reveals that removing Kerr will also kill Zack, and everyone agreed that that was unacceptable, and they stop it. But one guy, the UFO guy, he recorded it, and his recording got stolen by Argost. Now Argost uses this recording to extract Zack Monday's power, which kills him. Okay. And then he starts a war by driving all the cryptids insane, and eventually manages to capture Zack, and then uses the recording to take Zack's power and absorb them in order to become all powerful. But just as he's dying, Zack tells him whenever he and Zack Monday got too close together, reality started to get weird because antimatter and matter should never mix. And this mixing causes Argos to explode and die. We get a happy ending, don't worry, because Zack was only dead for 3 minutes. Only 3 minutes, don't worry about it. There was also a crossover episode with Ben 10. In this crossover, Vivi Argost comes back to life with the help of Dr. Animo, and Ben 10 and the Saturdays team up to stop them. Argost still has his antimatter Kerr power, which grants him control of mutated cryptids, but he ultimately loses and Ben removes his Kerr power. And Zack kind of has his Kerr powers, but they're kind of weak. He's still recovering from dying for 3 minutes. Alright, spoilers are over. Hello to whoever skipped. So here's a few more tidbits about the Secret Saturdays. Did I mention that Argos Butler can transform into like a spider monster thing? He even has his own magical girl transformation. Argos has a TV show that Zack watches. It's called Weird World.
Greetings and bienvenue, faithful Weird World watchers. I am the incomparable Vivi Argost, your most grave and gracious host.
Cartoon Network had some websites for the Secret Saturdays. One was Weird World, and another one was called cryptidsareal.com. You can't reach them anymore, so you have to use the Wayback Machine to kind of see them. Some of them you can kind of see okay, but others are pretty broken. So they had 2 DVD releases, which gives you a total of 10 episodes and some behind the scene animatics. As I also said earlier, they had some volumes in the Cartoon Network Action Pack comic series. On top of the comics, there were also these books, most notably this Cryptid Field Guide, which is like an intro to cryptids for kids. I guess I didn't really look into it that much. And it had a video game that released October 20th, 2009. It was called The Secret Saturdays Beasts of the Fifth Sun. It was released for the Wii, Nintendo DS, PlayStation 2, and PSP. It was mostly mini games with the occasional boss fight. Yeah, that was the Secret Saturdays. It's a pretty good show. I wish Cartoon Network would show more love to the Secret Saturdays, because just 10 episodes on a physical format while the rest you can only watch on like Amazon Prime is kind of sad. If you're interested in the DVDs, even though you only get 10 episodes, I got my copies off of Barnes & Nobles of all sites. They're mostly known for selling books, but they have a surprising amount of Blu-rays and DVDs, especially for animation. Thank you for watching. I hope I sparked some interest in you for the Secret Saturdays if you weren't already interested in it. And hopefully we get enough interest going that we get more options on how to watch the Secret Saturdays beyond just Amazon. Thank you. I'll see you when I see ya.